It is the final video in this mini-series within Vita. If you haven't seen the previous two videos, I was talking about the things that I've done recently in my life that I feel like have really changed the way I approach life in general and how I've become way more productive. The first video was about detoxing, which made me realize like, oh yeah, I could actually use, I could fill this time with different stuff, and it just kind of showed me, maybe I am wasting a little bit of too many times on certain things. The second thing was decluttering. That was yesterday's video, and go watch that. It's kind of self-explanatory on what a lot of the stuff is there, but I talk about it physically and mentally, which I think is worth the watch. And so today, I'm going to tell you about the single biggest thing that has helped me become more productive in life. And I do think, a lot of people are going to watch this video and be like, I'm just going to do that. I do think the other two things are very important as well. Because I feel like they all kind of go hand in hand. But the biggest thing that has kept me organized and has made the most impact on my life in the most recent months is buying a big ass calendar, okay? And it looks like this. And now I'm not talking, there is a guy that literally calls his calendar the big ass calendar. Don't buy that shit. That shit is like $50, $60 plus with shipping, and it's not even worth it. Go to Amazon. If you hate Amazon, go to your local office store or whatever and buy a big calendar like this, okay? Like this one right here. This is the one I bought on Amazon. It's about 3 feet by 2 feet. It has every single day of the year, okay? You need to be able to see your full year in one spot, not this like month to month. Don't buy one of those big ones that you rip it off and the month is gone. No, see the full year. You need this calendar. The reason why I really like this one that I bought is because it has a thing for notes at the top. It has notes on the side. It has things to focus on the left. It even has smaller calendars on the left, and there's just a lot of space. The weekends are color coordinated, so they stand out very easily, and it is just a great calendar. Now, the calendar is just the piece of hardware that you need. What really matters is the way you use it. Now, I'm not going to show my calendar because I got a lot of personal information on it, and I got a lot of secret ideas on it. But the reason why I like this is because it shows you, again, your whole year in advance. I think that's very, there's something mentally that is good and maybe even bad at the same time of being able to see the whole year in advance. Here's my rules when it comes to this. I write down in every little square. So I got my calendar like the first week of the year, so the first weeks are kind of blank. But what I do on this calendar is I write down one thing, or maybe the most important thing that I did throughout the day, or just little things. Sometimes I'll just bullet point like, did work, took a nap, read a book. Sometimes that's my day, Not everything is flashy, but those days that I did something important, like went on a date or did this or whatever, that's what I write in the block. So the first thing I do is I try to write one thing in every single day because it lets you track stuff, okay? That's a really good thing. If you've been paying attention to any of my other videos in this series, this is also a really good thing to do if you're suffering from some type of anxiety, like health anxiety. I went a little farther. You could actually just do exactly what I said and write down, felt this way today. If that's all you want to use this calendar for, go for it. Maybe you're not you're not trying to create a project, you're not trying to do anything like that. Then do that. Use this as a way to write down your stuff, because it allows you to visually see what you've been worrying about. If you're just a worrier, use every block, I worried about this today. And then you'll be able to see like, oh, I'm actually worrying about one thing a lot. Maybe I should do something about it. But I went a step further with my thing. What I did was I bought a bunch of stickers, and I've cut them up, and I wrote, because again, there's a lot of space on this calendar. There's like spaces in between the notes that I just write in there too. And using all permanent marker, by the way, probably the best thing to use on this. I go ahead and I put little notes. I'm like, this means this means this, so I can abbreviate on the calendar on the stickers. So I cut these little stickers, and at the very top of each day, I put a red sticker, a yellow sticker, or a green sticker. And what that means is red means I had a panic attack. That is like the worst day I could have. I had a panic attack that day. That's a red sticker. That's only happened once this year, and it was on the first of the year. The second thing is yellow stickers, which is a medium anxiety day. That's pretty much been a majority of my year, so there's a lot of yellow on my calendar. And the third thing is a light anxiety day. And, I've had maybe like 3 weeks worth of those, which is not bad. I mean, we're in the 5th month. I'll take 3 weeks of light anxiety days. And what I do is in the sticker, I write, and sometimes I have to abbreviate this, I write what I was worrying about. That's how I personally do it, and I know that everything's color coordinated. So if I were to look back on this in a year, 2 years, 3 years, because I plan on keeping these calendars, because they actually fold very well, I'm going to be able to look back and have a record of everything that I was worrying about or what I was stressing about when it came to health anxiety. And on there, I've probably written my eyes for a majority of the days because that was one of the biggest things that has been going on. So it's a good way to track stuff. So if you're a worrier, if you're somebody that has anxiety and you want to know why am I what am I worrying about? Because there's a good video out there. Oh my God, I have to figure it what it's freaking called. I've mentioned this in another one, but it's about how your brain, if it constantly does the same thing over and over and over, it's not going to remember every single day you did that. It just kind of smashes them all together. So this is a good way to actually keep track of what you're going through. I also think this is slightly better than keeping a journal because I used doing a journal for a long time with anxiety. After a while, it gets kind of boring if you do have the same day over and over. It gets kind of boring to write that. This is a lot quicker and it actually gets straight to the point of what I want to do. So that's for my anxiety sufferers out there. Anybody else that feels like you can take that system and do something with it, I highly, highly suggest it. But that is one of the best ways to keep track of things. So I'm sure you can modify that and do it with something else. But now, for my creatives and people that are trying to actually get something done throughout the year, here's what I did. So I have personal goals for this year. I have not told anybody because, again, until it's done, until none. But on my calendar, I have broken the calendar up into 3 different parts. So every 4 months, or did I do it in, maybe I did it in 3. I think I did it in 3s instead of, I think I did it in 3s and called it quarters, which is a terrible, doesn't make sense. But it's what I did. It's done. But anyways, I broke up the thing and I was like end of quarter, end of quarter, end of quarter. I think that's how I did it. Oh no, actually, I think I did that at the end. No, actually, okay, here it is. I'm working on 3 different things. One goal, I'm going to leak a little bit. One goal is I have to do 3 things. I'm not going to say what those things are. In the middle of my calendar, I broke that up. I was like, first thing, and then 3 months later, or 4 months later, I put second thing. 4 months later, I put second thing. Meaning I have to have that idea or that thing done or at least started by that starting point. So it's a good way to break up. If you're trying to do 3 things throughout the year, that's a good way to break them up. In, whether you want to do it in quarters or you want to do it in every 4 months. I did it in 4 months there. And at the very end of the calendar, I put end of quarter, end of quarter, end of quarter, and that's actually every 3 months. And that's just a good way if you want to break it up differently. So I think that's a good way to kind of do things because you can be like, all right, this project, if you want to break it down that way, I have 3 months to complete this project. Or by the end of the first quarter, I want XYZ done. That's a good way to do it. So what I've been doing is I have been writing down certain things in the notes panels of what do I want done by the end of the first quarter? Do I want it to be, do I want to have 20 pages of a book done? Do I want to have maybe a project or something done by here? Do I want to, make sure I worked out X amount of times? Whatever your thing is, you can break it down by quarter. And I think that's one of the best ways to do things. So a little bit of an example is I'm working on a project that involves writing. And at the end of one of my months, I put, X number of words. And that was my goal for that month was to, by the end of this month, and I do that every other month or something like that. And I'll put, let's just say for 50,000 words. Let's just say 50,000 words by the end of this time. And that's my goal. And I just put a little box next to it. And if I hit it, scrape it. And if you don't, you don't. But the good thing is when you set that up, you can also just break that down even more and be like, okay, if I want 50,000 words by the end of this month, each day I should be writing X amount of words, whether that be 1,000 or whatever. I break it up into 2 months because that's a lot of writing if you're new to it. And so that means like, oh, I need 500 to 1,000 words every day to get that record. And there, again, I talked about that systems thing in the goals video, which was prior to this. If you saw that, you got to come up with these systems. That's a system right there. Like, come up with it, and it'll help you achieve that goal. So that's one of the best things about the calendar. But the one thing I'm learning, and this is probably the best thing that works for me, not going to say that it works for everybody, but I think this is a good way to break down your years if you're trying to be productive, is every month when it says like the little focus part, there's that little square at the thing, it says, what do you want to focus on? I pick one thing, maybe two, but I pick one predominant thing that I'm going to work on for the month. In April, it's Vita. This is what I've been doing. I'm like, all right, this is my focus. I want to make 30 videos, one video every single day, or one video for every day, single day of the month. That is my big project. And then I have sub projects under that. But Vita is the main goal. This is the only thing I've been focusing on in April. That's why I've been able to keep up with it, because that is the only thing. I think it's better if you can only have one thing to focus on, but obviously if you're a creative, there's no way you're just working on one thing. I highly recommend you only work on one thing. So what I say is, since you're not going to do that, prioritize one thing. Vita is my main thing for this month. I'm not working on books and stuff, but I do have those days where I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. I write it down, but it's not my focus. My focus is, did a Vita video come out today? Bam, it did. Cool. I have a little bit of time to do other stuff if I want to. So as long as my main purpose is getting done, that's my biggest focus when it comes to this calendar. Now, and this is a really good thing to do because I've been doing it almost every month. Last month, my main goal was to hit a certain amount of words in a book. And so I did that. And I'm like, okay, awesome. If you're somebody that wants to read a lot, then you can put a number of books or a number of pages that you read for the month or whatever. Or like, by the end of the month, I want to have 10 books read, And like, you can break that down how you're going to do that. You can do it through audiobooks, whatever. Whatever your goal is, you can fit it into this format that I'm talking. And, unfortunately, if I wasn't doing this all in vlog style, I would have all beautiful editing and all that jazz, but this video would also probably take like weeks to come out. So I'm hoping that you're able to visualize and understand what I'm talking about. If you got one of these calendars, trust me, you'll be able to understand it very well. But, so the great thing about this is I'm on track for Vita. I accomplished my thing last month of the words I wanted to hit. Boom. I already have my idea for next month, and I've already broke it down on like, what do I need to do per day to stay on track? And it's been one of the best freaking things. I swear on anything that is holy that you might believe in or that I believe in. And it is been a game changer. Like, genuinely, because I keep that calendar in my bedroom, so when I wake up, I see that calendar. So I highly suggest if you buy this calendar, you put it somewhere that you are going to see it, and it's not going to just be tucked away on a wall you don't pay attention to. No, put it somewhere where you are going to see it. There are days like where I'm just like, right before I go to bed, I'm like looking at the calendar, and I'm like, okay, what have we done? What have we not done? What do we need to work on? How do we plan out things? Like, it has been a game changer. I would say put it in your bedroom if you can. Like, genuinely, put it in your bed where you're going to see it. And when you wake up in the morning, you can look at it. Like, mine's by my door. So I see it. There's no way I can miss it. And it's been great, man. I think it has been the biggest game changer for me. That's all I can say. I hate to use like an overused phrase, but it is, because you can see like the time going away. Like, we're already halfway through April, and so I see that I wrote something every single day in the first 3 months, and I'm like, damn, I've done a lot of stuff. And but at the same time, I'm like, we're almost halfway through the year, and I haven't finished maybe one of the projects. I've made a lot of progress, but we haven't finished anything. And I think it's a good way to keep yourself in check. So yeah, that is the biggest thing I could give to anybody that wants to change their life, to make their life a little bit more organized, and to really stay on track when it comes to being productive. And it's an old school thing, I think it's so easy to get a phone and be like, oh, reminders. Let's be real. How many times do you get notifications and you ignore the fuck out of them? I think sometimes this, as much as it can do and be an amazing thing and give us all the dopamine hits that we want, this is actually a distraction to getting shit done. Even though everybody says like, "Oh my god, this app works so much in this app." And there are great apps out there. I sing the praises of Opal all the time because I'm able to set timers to, eliminate certain distracting apps after like an hour or something, or at a certain time of day. I think that's fantastic. A good way to stay on track and actually, progress. But there's just something about doing something physically, like having an actual physical item and actually interacting with that physical item that I think gets your brain going and really makes you focus. So that's my advice to you. If you haven't watched the other two videos in this series, I highly suggest you go do that. But yeah, physical big ass calendar. Highly suggest you do it. I think it's maybe like $12. I think that's what I paid when I got it. They're probably cheaper now because we're already 3 months into the year. But yeah, highly suggest you don't need to wait till the new year to do this. You can start this mid-year if you're trying to get some shit done. So that's my biggest advice to you. Yeah, so hopefully this advice, you take it, you use it, and you produce something badass. But anyways, I'll see you in the next Vita vlog.